So it's been 12 years since the first Gold Series came out, and back then it was actually kind of cool. I mean, if you look at cards like Crush Card Virus, this was the first printing of it in the TCG, and was so expensive due to its short print nature that the card was around $300 to $400 just for a copy. Of course, now you get Gold Series that looks like this. This is from Premium Gold 2, and that's probably the human equivalent of vomiting just all over your artwork. But what I want to talk about today is Maximum Gold, which is the return of Gold Series after a couple of years off, you know, the thing no one was really asking for. But at the same time, it'll probably bring us some solid reprints, which is really the reason to be optimistic, unless you're those guys who talked about how to invest in Yu-Gi-Oh!, in which case reprints are a bad thing, but that's in the past. So today, I got 10 cards that I think I'd like to see in Maximum Gold, and or we should see in Maximum Gold, which I guess you could argue are very similar, but we don't know what they're going to reprint. It's going to be a massive set, and a ton of cards are getting reprinted in the Megatins, so there's already a lot of things we're looking at here. Hopefully we get some cool stuff from Maximum Gold, and hopefully it doesn't look as nauseating. I understand that it's going to be a different style of gold, like similar to what they got in Japan, but that doesn't mean I have confidence in Konami not to fuck it up and make it look awful, because gold rares have just gotten progressively worse throughout the years. Let's jump into it. I went through, sort of did a lot of like price crunching, looked around on like TCG Player and trying to look at cards that, you know, haven't been reprinted recently, still command a decent value, see play, or could benefit from a foil upgrade. If you guys have other things you want to see, definitely let me know what you think would be good to see in Gold Series, or what you're hoping we'll see in Gold Series going forward. That said, let's start off with the first one here, Cosmol Dark Lady. So this is a secret rare from Shining Victories. The card is insanely powerful in Cosmo. Obviously, deck doesn't see a ton of play right now, but almost every other Cosmo card, with the exception of Tin Can and Mojo, which I guess are potential candidates too, have been reprinted, whether in other Gold Series or just other sets in general, except for her. Now, this card is necessary in the deck as at least a 1 or a 2 of, and if it were to ever become prevalent again, whether it gets new support in some of the OCG packs or otherwise, this is going to be a card you're going to want to have, and a card that's going to be more than $10, meaning if Cosmo were to be competitive again, and this card doesn't get reprinted, the price will spike, as expected. I could see them putting it in here, especially because there's going to be a lot of space to fill in the set, and even if they do fill it with like a bunch of Yugi and Kaiba nostalgia, there's still going to be open slots. So I think it's about time, after 5 years since this set actually came out, that Dark Lady finally gets another reprint. Next one is a Pointer of the Red Lotus. So this is a trap from Stardust Overdrive. It's seen a lot of popularity recently, especially in control or anti-meta decks. This card kind of functions like a trap dust shoot of sorts, but just nowhere near as good. You pay 2,000 life points, reveal all the cards in your hand to your opponent, then you get to look at their hand, select a card, and banish it till the end phase of the opponent's next turn. So it's a neat card that definitely gives you a lot of knowledge, both by being able to see the hand and by being able to remove a problem card, but it just falls short of where Dust Shoot is. That being said, the card at its cheapest for a near mint first edition copy is somewhere around $11, give or take. And so that is a card that I could easily see them slotting in there as a gold, give it a foil bump, and that'd be something that would be a little bit of a, you know, boost to the players that don't have it, and those who do, and if it looks nice, of course, would be able to get a rarity upgrade for it. So I think a Pointer of the Red Lotus is definitely a cool candidate. I don't know if it's on their radar, but it's a $10 common, and it hasn't seen print since 2012, I think, when Stardust Overdrive was out, or maybe even earlier. So I definitely think it could be a good candidate. Third one is Lich, the Golden Lord. So some people are going to say this card is like highly unlikely to see a reprint. I understand Secret Slayers came out back in March/April, whatever. There was a bit of a delay because of the pandemic, but ultimately March/April. This card is extremely expensive now, even though we don't have any competitive tournaments going on right now, and it's literally the Golden Lord. I mean, the name is there. All of these Lich cards, whether it's Cursed Eldland, this one, or even the Elixirs, I could see all of them being in the set, but you have a set called Maximum Gold, you gotta put your Golden Lord in. I think it's a good opportunity to reprint him realistically. I know the March sets typically when a lot of those get reprinted, like when we got Witchcrafter Creation and stuff in Dual Overload, but it'd be a good way to move product, and especially to allow people a chance to get their hands on Lich, if they want to play that deck. And again, he's gold. He's literally the Golden Lord, so it makes perfect sense to put him in there. I'm optimistic, but I mean, they may want to wait and use this to sell a future product, so who knows. I would definitely say go ahead and put Lich the Golden Lord in there if it were me, though. Alright, Next one is Fluffle Bear. So this is a common, it has no foil print. It does have a star foil from Star Pack, but I barely count that, and it's insanely expensive, all things considered, for what it is. But Fluffles have gotten a ton of support lately. This is a really, really cool card in the deck, and it's definitely a mandatory 3 of. I think it'd be cool to see him get a foil upgrade. It's a shame it would probably have to be gold, obviously, but it would still be a really neat, like, option for him to have, and it would be a nice nod to Fluffle players to give them a chance to rarity upgrade their decks. I think you could see some other Fluffle cards in here too, but most of them got super prints in Fusion Enforcers, so I think there's a good chance that Bear himself, and maybe even if they throw in Dog and or Cat, could get some bumps as well to not have to be stuck with that low Starfoil rarity in order to, you know, have a higher version, people that want to play it. So Fluffle Bear, definitely, because even if you look at the commons, you know, they're like 2 and change, so it's not cheap, quote-unquote, in any way, just in terms of what you'd expect for a common like that, and it's not that old. It came out in 2015, so. Alright, the next one, Elder Entity Ints. This card has seen a ton of play and a resurgence now that Dogmatica is a thing. You send it from the extra deck, you pop a card on the field. It's really good removal. It's just a generically good card, and it came out in 2017, so it's been about 3 years, but just seeing it around 4 to 6 a copy, depending on condition, and I just think it's one of those cards that, like, while it's not super expensive and while it doesn't command an insane price, it would be nice to see this get a reprint. And again, like I said, there's so much space to fill in Maximum Gold, and you can only put so much nostalgia in there. So I think Intis would be a good option. Maybe you'll see the other entities as well, although I know obviously Norden's banned, but who knows, maybe they print a gold one just to give those who like to play those older formats the option to have some of those cards. This, you know, granted is not super expensive, and I could easily see it being a common in an OTS or something in the future, but I think it'd be a pretty good sort of like low-risk card for Konami to put in there going forward. Next up, we have Alistair, the Invoker of Madness. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know how much I expect this one to actually happen. I thought it might have gotten a print in the Megatins, but it's not, and it's still about $30, give or take. I know there's one here for $24, but if you look at the average and just sort of the rolling price on this, it's around 25 to 30 bucks, and Shadows of Valhalla is, you know, 2 years old almost. All the Invoke stuff got reprinted except for this, so basically Alistair, Invocation, all that in Battles of Legend, and then we got, you know, Purgatrio, Raijin, all those in Battles of Legend as well, so, you know, Invoked in general may end up seeing some kind of a hit. I don't know whether or not that's going to happen. Talk about that in a future ban list video, perhaps. But I think this card would be a really cool candidate for reprint. It's a decent card that's just relatively generic in general, because of how easily you can kind of fit Alistair and Invocation into all sorts of decks. So this would lower the price of the card. I could see him again being like an ulti and an OTS or something too if they wanted to go that route. But if we're being honest, I think Alistair himself, just a regular Alistair the Invoker, makes more sense as an ulti, you know, in a future set going forward. Alright, up next, we've got Red Eye's Insight. So this card has 2 prints, 1 rare from Invasion Vengeance, and 1 common in Legendary Duelist Season 1. This is a nutty card. I know Red Eyes isn't exactly, you know, doing anything drastic right now, but it will be once Dragoon comes out, and he'll be in the Megatins. So whether you're playing pure Red Eyes Dragon type decks, or you're just splashing Dragoon into different things because of how useful it can be, you know, it just has a really, really solid use, and I think it could be a really good candidate for reprint here as a foil upgrade. Now, this strikes me as a type of card you would see as a super in an OTS pack, if I'm being honest. But since I don't expect that they're going to end up doing any OTS packs anytime soon, at least probably not till the end of the year, given that there's no competitive play yet at this moment, I would like to see it in there. Maybe they'll put Red Eyes Fusion in there as well. I mean, I know it got a reprint in LDS 1, but it's only got one other foil print, and it's kind of like 20 bucks, so Red Eyes Insight, really neat little card. Maybe they'll put some of the other Red Eyes things in there that haven't gotten reprinted recently just to give foil upgrades. But I think it's a good card that may be on your radar. I would definitely recommend, too, just a side note, you know, picking them up if you don't have them. If you can get them at $1, on the off chance they don't get reprinted, I do think this card has more, you know, potential to go back up to where it was with only 2 prints, one of which in a set that just realistically didn't sell that well. So that's my thought on Insight. Alright, next up, Shooting Star Dragon. So I don't know how likely this one is, but at the same time, I don't see why they wouldn't. unless they wanted to use them to sell a future product. So Shooting Star Dragon hasn't been reprinted since Legendary Collection 5Ds, which was 2015 or 2016, I don't remember. And even that copy now is like $16, $17. And if you look here, these are all expensive, and this card just doesn't have any accessibility. Granted, it's not amazing right now, but, you know, decks like Necros may play it if you're playing Quasar and using other combos like that. And he's just an iconic card from the anime in general that I imagine people, whether it's competitive or casual, would probably like to have a copy of. So if you weren't able to get it or you're late into the game, it's not exactly easy to just pick up a Shooting Star Dragon now. I could see him looking nice with the gold rarity, assuming they don't mess it up too badly. Obviously, it wouldn't be anywhere near as nice as the Ghost Rare or anything like that, but it'd definitely be nice to have a more accessible copy of that card. Alright, next one, Incantation Chalice Lime. So I know people have talked about this both on Market Watch and on other YouTube videos. This did get passed on the Megatins. I believe every other Incantation card did get reprinted. Either the ones, you know, down here, you see they all got foils in 2019. This card was in Savage Strike, and it did not get a reprint. So not only does it not have a foil upgrade like its brethren, it's a really good card that's going to be like a $5 to $6 rare right now because there's no other copies of it. I would definitely like to see Chalice Lime get that reprint, because I do think he is just a good card to have, and people that want to play high rarity, people that want to have this stuff, you know, would like to, and granted, people aren't exactly always going to be super into gold, but that depends on your preference. People that are going to play Incantations, or people that are going to play Necros, or Dratron, or some other deck, this card is a card you should have. You should probably have a playset of it. And right now, it's got a decently high price point to pick up for a rare. So hopefully, maybe they left it out of the Megatins to include it in Gold Series, and fill some more space, and also, as you know, as a nod to Ritual decks. There's also a chance, though, that it could be in the set that's coming out in December with Collector's Rares. I can't remember the name of right now. I think it's Genesis Impact. As a collector's rare, I could see that too. So depending, Konami, just give us a reprint of Chalice Lime one way or another, because I do think this card will go up more if it sees more use and doesn't get a reprint. And lastly, Metamorphosis. So you might ask why. I don't expect Metamorphosis to come off the list, for the record, as long as Exterio is the thing and there's so many level 10 monsters. But this is a hugely popular card in GOAT format, and we've seen Konami give nods to that before with the Delinquent Duo Secret Rare in Legendary Collection Kaiba, Graceful Charity in Legendary Collection Yugi's World. Like, they will occasionally bump out cards to, you know, give to GOAT format players, whether that's intentional or not, you know, ban cards that people want to have a playable foil version of. If you look here, I mean, this Champion Pack Metamorphosis is like $600, so you're not getting that. And these common ones range between 5 to 10, depending on condition. They're also super old and extremely unlikely that you're going to find them in good condition. This card has not been printed in almost, I think, I looked this up before the video too. I think this card has not been reprinted in about 15 years. So, you know, a gold rare Metamorphosis, definitely a cool nod to people that want to play some higher rarity, or at least get some foil upgrades for their GOAT format decks. And just to reintroduce it, and just the fun of people thinking that maybe it was going to come back, and the hilariousness that would ensue with that. You know, we like a little bit of chaos too. But I think Metamorphosis would be a really cool reprint if they do decide to throw a couple of ban cards in there, just for the sake of getting more accessible copies of those out. So overall, that is my 10 picks that I would like to see in Gold Series. I'd like to know what you guys think, obviously. Do you think any of those picks are likely? Do you think there's other cards I missed that should get a reprint in there? Do you think Konami's even going to focus on competitive stuff, or they're going to try to load it up with some more nostalgia cards and everything like that? Let me know what you guys think. I really appreciate you watching the video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you next time with another video right here at Loveshack.